live. That's right. Welcome to Platos Cave, coming to you from Australia, the land down under, for Revolution Radio on revolution.radio. That's right, listener-funded radio. That's awesome, which means you, the listener, are holding the purse strings, as it were. So if you can donate, please do. Any kind of currency is good, including crypto. There's some really easy to follow steps on the webpage, revolution.radio. If you want to do that, that would be awesome. Alternatively, you don't have any cash, and who does these days? Tell people about the station, please. Tell them about the programs, the hosts, and maybe they like to listen in, and maybe one of those good folk could donate. That would be really, really good. Today is the 19th of June, 2025. Last week was D-Day, of course. In fact, last Thursday was D-Day. No, it's not. I'm lying to you. June 6th, which was not last Thursday, but it was the week before, D-Day. Might talk about that for a second in the context of where we are today. You can catch the cave on the air, on the line, all the time, and on your smart device. So grab an app to listen anywhere, or listen at home on the Grace Tabletop Digital Radio. I'd really have to buy one of those things. I really do. Archives are free, which is another great reason to donate. So get in there, get to the website, come into the chat room. In fact, I'll be there momentarily. I'm not there right now, but I'll get there. And we do try to keep an eye on it. So if there's any interaction, we do try to keep it lively. And we've had some pretty good chat room sessions in the past, so feel free to join in the fun. Before we start broadcasting at you in anger, we would like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land from which we broadcast. And for Dave...
Pointing in the wrong direction. There you go. It's the Dark and Chung.
For myself, it's the Dark People. We'd like to pay our respects to elders, past, present, and future. I was pointing both ways, buddy.
Yeah,
I couldn't possibly have been wrong.
Well, only 50% wrong. Hey, comment in the chat room, by the way. Little shout out to us there.
50. Oh, really? I said, all right, cool. 50% right. Hello.
Yeah, broken
right?
Clock is
anyway,
right twice a day, Mackie.
That's, you know it. Huh?
So
Mackie,
before we start, I know that our station isn't going to hear this audio, but it will be recorded as part of our archives. And this is General Wesley Clark talking about 7 countries in 5 years, and I think it's only about 8 seconds. So give me a second.
Weeks later, and by that time,
okay, I'll give you all the seconds you want, my friend.
I said, "Are we still going to war with Iraq?" And he said, "Oh, it's worse than that." He said he reached over on his desk and picked up a piece of paper. He said, "I just got this down from upstairs, meaning the Secretary of Defense's office today." And he said, "This is a memo that describes how we're going to take out 7 countries in 5 years, starting with Iraq and then Syria, Lebanon, Libya, Somalia, Sudan, and finishing off Iran."
And we're back from that. And he mentioned 7 countries in 5 years and finishing off with Iran.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, that's the thing. Look, it is interesting. Again, this was at the beginning of the George Bush Jr. administration when we had the I guess it was the New American Century or some New American thing came. There was a whole think tank, very hawkish, and they. But yeah, Brzezinski was in it, and Zibinev, and Cheney, of course, and then a bunch of other folk. In any event, they put a list together back then. Sorry, I dropped something in. See the top of my bald head. And the list was Libya. It was Libya. It was Syria. It was Iran. It was Iraq. I think Iraq was first. Afghanistan was not on it, but it was, that was just, done as well. Might as well, right? Cheaper by the dozen. And there were a couple others.
I can read them out. So it's Iraq,
Syria,
ahead. Lebanon, Libya, Somalia, Sudan, and Iran.
Yeah. So Sudan, so Somalia hasn't been done. Sudan obviously had a split. The civil war. But if you go even further back, North Korea was on the list at some point. What I find interesting is where we are today, Dave. What I find interesting is where we are. So yes, Syria is sort of except for Somalia and the Sudan, but Africa is a mess, and that's our fault. When I say our fault, that's the West that's at fault here. But if you look at the rest of the world and where we are, in many ways, it's funny, and you have to judge anyone by their actions. I mean, anybody can say anything they want, because ultimately it doesn't matter, right? You can promise this and promise that, and talk about doing the other thing, and then even more of that. But if you don't do it, then it's just talk. It's just hot air. It means nothing. Mm-hmm. What we're seeing now, though, and this is, I want to list a few things here, right? And then we can, have at it. But I want to list a few things that did not happen when Donald Trump came into power. That did not happen. Okay. We did not get a full release of the JFK files. We did not get a full release of the Martin Luther King files. We did not get a full release of the RFK files. We did not get a full release of the 9/11 files. Oh, we did not get a full release of the Epstein files, and we never will. We did not get a full release of the UFO files or Europe files, anything like that. There was no disclosure, nothing at all. Nothing was forthcoming. In fact, we got the opposite. People that were very vociferous and acidly so, right, with previous administrations, going, it's a swamp, it's a Pizzagate, it's all kinds of evil things, and when we're in there, we're gonna clean it up and we're gonna show everybody the truth. I mean, you can ask yourself, why didn't Donald Trump do it in his first term, right? He didn't, but he said, no, let's do it now. But none of it happened. In fact, Kash Patel and a few others have now flip-flopped completely and saying, there's nothing to see here. No, move along. Epstein files, nothing. Yeah, he killed himself. Yeah, nothing to see here.
I like his quote. The quote is, I looked at the fire, there was nothing in it.
There's nothing in it. It's empty. Shouldn't that tell you something? It's like, what? So I am now 100% convinced that the Trump administration and I mean all the people in it have now sold out, or they never really were on the up and up anyway, which is probably the more truthful point here.
And
I don't think they were on the up and up.
I'd prefer to take the other side. I'd prefer to take the side that they sold out. Look, their intentions were good, but then they got owned. So they couldn't do it. No. Hey, see, it's just me. It's just me thinking, maybe they tried really hard and they just got up against the deep state. No way you're going to do it. That's what I like to think. Mecky, it's okay.
Yeah. No, I want to make your point for you. So I think that might be true for Kash and his offsider. I forget his name. The deputy director.
Sure.
They're both. They're the same Muppet. They're two Muppets in the same tin, as far as I'm concerned. But ultimately, I think your view on those guys is correct. I think they probably went in all firebrand, right? Thinking, we're gonna do this and that, and then they said, no, you're not. What do you mean I don't? Well, you can do it and die, or your family, in fact, anybody who has ever laid eyes on you will disappear. How you like that?
Yeah, a choice. The choice is yours. Yeah. The desert's a big place.
Yeah. And that's the same reason I'm extremely skeptical of the whistleblowers, and that includes Bustamante, that's the ex-CIA agent who's popping up everywhere. Initially, I liked him. I liked him a lot, right? He was he's also involved now with the Skinwalker Ranch. He does Beyond Skinwalker Ranch with a reporter. They go to different places. He's ex-CIA, but he said a lot of things that I know to be false. He said a lot of things that I know to be false, but he said them, right? And he knows they are false. He knows they're not true, right? And so I'm thinking here, there's a lot of double talk. There's a lot of misinformation, and again, I point out here. Look at what happens to real whistleblowers, irrespective of the country they're from. In Australia, like I said before, we had this gentleman in the army. He was a lawyer for the army, and he saw some, some rather unbecoming, untoward things that happened in the army, like maybe unlawful executions, etc.
Sure.
And he said, hey, this is what happened here, right? And he wasn't lying. He was right, and he blew the whistle. And for his troubles, I think he received a jail sentence, right?
That's correct.
So the way we treat whistleblowers is not with respect. It is not with deference. It is not with support. It is not with indemnity. It is with the full force of the law.
Yeah.
That's how we treat whistleblowers. That goes for governmental whistleblowers. It goes for corporate whistleblowers. It goes for church whistleblowers. Any institutional whistleblowers, in fact, right? Mm-hmm. People that blow the whistle are not well liked. They're in the same box as the people that question the establishment with maybe unorthodox scientific findings or timelines that are scientifically correct but don't line up with the accepted scientific view.
Yeah,
all of these people,
Bart Simpson discovers that their idol, I forget his name now, couldn't be in two places at the same time. The Tiag or whatever it's called place and his other place, and then they're pushing the button. Oh, you've got to get him out of here because he's going to ruin the whole thing.
Yeah. So we like to call that box troublemakers.
Yeah.
I've got here you go. We'll put them in a little red box, and we disguise it like a mailbox, and we call them the troublemakers. Cute little troublemakers. Sorry, that's the best impression I can do of an evildoer. But
that's what that was.
I'm yeah, that's what it was. That's right. But I'm telling you, biscuits. I'm telling you that if these guys were for real, and look, sorry, let me rephrase this. If these guys truly blew the whistle, right, they would not be in a position that they're in now, untouched, pretty much free to do whatever they like, etc., etc. They're not even being denied. They're not even being their reputations are untarnished. Mm-hmm. They keep saying what they say, and there's no repercussion. Whereas people in the past, their lives were destroyed, or in some instances, their lives were ended. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Or they moved to Russia.
They moved to Russia. That's right. Whereas these guys here, nothing. In fact, they're probably still connected to the establishment, as far as I can tell, right? So, yeah. And see, this is, look, again, it's actually a genius playbook, Dave. It's genius, and I'll tell you why it's genius. This a long time ago, the parasites figured out that you can't control the people. Not really, not forever. For a long time, but not forever, right? But after the French Revolution, they go, oh well, this is not working out well for us here. And there are other instances like that as well. However, what we do, or what we can do, is we get into the mix. Yeah, we help the dissidents. We become part of their groups. We infiltrate them, and then we guide them along the path that we want them to go. And if they don't, then we do something else. But we're not going to fight them anymore, or at least not. As we did before, you fight them here and there, otherwise people get suspicious. But for the most part, we're not going to fight them. We'll give them some information, some misinformation, right? We'll guide them along the primrose path or whatever the case may be, and then eventually we can use them for our own purposes. That is brilliant. And that's exactly where we are, right? The parasites have infiltrated any community, really, to be honest with you. Any community that is sort of on the fringes, right? Because on the fringes is where you get the discoveries, scientific or otherwise. But the intellectual fringes of society, that's your fermentation pot of new ideas and things that push the human race forward. Always. It's never in the middle. It's never the great mass of people. It's never the parasites. It is the malcontents. It's the disgruntled geniuses. It's the people that don't fit the categories. It's the people that see more and do more, and they're fermenting on the edges. They really are, right? So that's why you have to keep an eye on the edge as far as the parasites are concerned. And that's what they're doing. And now they're controlling the narrative. It's fantastic. initially the narrative was, when it came to disclosure in the 50s, 40s, 50s, denial. The narrative is denial. Nothing to see here. Move along. The narrative has changed. Oh, no, there are some things that are true. Some things. We can't really say which things, but some things. Oh, this thing here, that's true. What is it? I don't know. Right. And the narrative changes only if something else is happening. You stick with the narrative if it works. You don't change it because why you don't fix what's not broken. But now that the narrative is changing, it is changing significantly, right? It almost feels like we slept through disclosure in many ways. But the narrative is changing, so we have to ask ourselves, Dave, what's going on? What is the narrative changing to? Okay, we know that, but why is it changing? Why? What is happening in the background or somewhere that has necessitated the change in narrative? Right? Why is the government all of a sudden willing to admit that this is actually a thing rather than complete denial? Right? Why is that? And what else is happening? Are we being led down another wrong path here? And the answer is, of course, yes. Right? We are. Because a lot of the things that we see are ours. Not all of them, right? But a lot of the things that we see, like my labs as well, right? They're ours. We do them. The parasites now have the technology, maybe had it for a long time, to operate as they wish. And I believe that we only see, for the most part, what they want us to see. I think there are accidents. I think when sometimes things glitch, they don't work well. It's just the human. It's the world. The world doesn't. It's not a perfect place. Things fall apart. But so there are accidents, and we accidentally see something. I think the vast majority of the things that we see, we're allowed to see, because I think the technology is so far beyond what we can possibly perceive, even with the best tech that we have today, that we would never be able to see it unless A, some kind of accident or glitch, or B, they let us see it. Okay? These are the only two options. And I think the second option, they let us see it, is happening more and more often now, right? For various reasons. And I think we need to look at the narrative that's being spun here. You also have to realize that Donald Trump is now flirting with the idea of going into Iran, right? Into the war, into the hot war. Now you ask yourself, why? Why? He was meant to sit down with the Iranians for talks, and that's when the Israelis started bombarding things, right? And now he's going to say, oh, well, we might as well help the Iranians, right? So obviously he's doing that to distract from local issues he has at home, right? The parade was a disaster. It's a disaster. It's hilarious. The protests around the country that happened at the same time as his military parade actually had significantly more attendees than his military parade. He himself didn't look too happy, and I think he fell asleep halfway through it. But why is he doing it? A war is always a great distraction. It's great. Because, we're at war. Well, don't ask me silly questions. What a silly question you're asking me, right? You've got military in the streets of LA. You've got a whole bunch of other things happening. It's a very precarious situation for the American democracy. People have been talking about civil war for a while, but now people are talking about the end of American democracy. Now this has global repercussions. That's why Dave and I are talking about it. It has global repercussions. What happens in America, right? If America loses its democracy, as it has lost its credit rating, as you know, it was downgraded by Moody's in its credit rating, which means its interest repayments are more expensive. So America not only has a completely unserviceable debt, but that unserviceable debt has now become even more unserviceable by being more expensive, right? Because the credit rating has gone down. So there's a whole bunch of stuff that's happening. It was the end of the petrodollar. Nobody talked about that. For my part, I think that's a fascinating thing. But there are a lot of things happening that are really indicating the end of America as an entity that drives forward the world. America for 80 years has been, for better or for worse, a shining beacon of democracy, liberty, falsely maybe in some, but nonetheless, that's what people believed. That's how I grew up. In West Germany, America. America was like a land of dreams, right? Anything is possible in America. And that's sort of, that shine has gone away a bit. And a lot of people don't feel that way anymore, right? And recent developments over the last few months, have really tarnished the American reputation globally. It's no longer a global force as it was before. Militarily, yes, but diplomatically, not really. Not really. I mean, the European Union, Canada, even Australia, we're now looking for other security arrangements. China has become, funnily enough, the go-to country for countries looking for help, like America used to be. Right? America used to be the country that everybody went to, USAID, etc., etc. That's gone, completely gone, and it's getting worse and worse. Now, I have nothing against American isolationism. I'm okay with that because that's how America operated for most of its existence. That's fine, right? Historically speaking, that's a perfectly cromulent position to take, right? But you can't have it both ways. You can't withdraw from the global community and leave it to everyone else to sort out, and then start hot wars. Like you can't start bombing Iran in that instance. Now, having said that, right, I don't think he will bomb Iran. He might do one bombing run to get that really deep bunker, right? Maybe one, because you know where Putin gets most of his drones from?
Pepsi. I know it's Iran. It's Iran.
Partial credit and full credit. Yes, Iran, exactly. That's where Putin gets his drones from. Now, the question now is, okay, this is an interesting question, and I think most of you are familiar with my base premise that Trump is compromised and Putin holds all the dirt on him. Now, does Putin value Iran enough to play that card with Trump, to threaten him, in order for Iran not to be attacked? Or is Putin more of a realist and says, well, look, Iran will be Iran, and there's not much I can do, so you're on your own. He's not going to destroy you completely, and the drone production is still going to be enough probably for me to have. And I'm not going to play my card that I have against Trump. Because if he plays the Trump card, no pun intended, in my opinion, that might be the end of Trump, right? If it could be proven beyond any reasonable doubt that Donald Trump was more than just like a buddy of Epstein's, but fully participated in whatever depravities Epstein got up to, then that would destroy him, in my opinion, with his base. However, one more point: the MAGA base seems to suffer from the reverse of Trump. What's it called? Trump
TDS
derangement syndrome. So there's Trump derangement syndrome, which essentially states that no matter what Trump does, you won't like it. That's fair. That's fair. I mean, anybody who voted last election voted not Trump. I don't think very many people voted for Kamala Harris. They just didn't vote Trump. Okay, and that's fair. So no matter what Trump does, and there are a lot of things he has done in these last few months that were actually really good. They were really good. They're not bad things. They're good things, right? He did those, but Trump did them, so we don't like them. And fair enough, you can call that Trump derangement syndrome, but it works on the flip side as well. His base also has Trump derangement syndrome in the sense that no matter what he does, they will support him. No matter what he does, it doesn't matter. Yeah, troops to LA. Yeah, tanks, cruise missiles, bomb them down. But whatever. It's actually really funny. So it goes both ways. So I might be wrong when I say that once the information comes out, whatever the information might be, maybe there's no information, but if it comes out and it turns out that he did all these bad things, right, then his base might still stand behind him. Still. Because that's where we are in the world now, at least in America, where we've become so entrenched, we've become immovable. Dave, I don't know. It's just a strange situation, right?
Yeah, it is absolutely 100%. I'm agreeing with you all the way. I've got a Brent crude image here for the last 5 years, and it peaked in 2022 with roughly $120 a barrel US. Right now, it's hovering around $76, $75 a barrel, and just a little while ago, so if I go back to, well, 1 week ago, we were down at 69. Now it's up at 76. And if this trend continues, it's going to be really hard for everybody. We think the cost of living is expensive. Housing is expensive.
Yep.
Food is expensive. Fuel. There's limited housing. This where we live in particular in Australia. We have a lot of immigrants coming in, and we have no solution to any of the problems. And all we need now is a global conflict, Mickey. And we're going to see a huge shortage of fuel. If we had a global conflict, you have to admit to yourself that access to fuel in your country will be by voucher. You'll only be allowed a certain amount. All of the resources will be going towards the war effort. All metal goes towards the war effort. Construction, repurposing of our industry goes towards the war effort as best it can. We've demolished our industrial base that allows us to convert it to war effort. The only thing we could do is make drones, to be honest with you, cardboard drones, and put them on pallets. That's pretty much all we'd be left with. I'm sorry to say that and say it out loud and hear myself say it, knowing how close we are to a situation that I don't think anyone on the planet, except for the parasites who will back it anyway. They'll back it mentally, financially. They'll win from it because they'll put all their investment in, say, I don't know, Halliburton and Raytheon and all of those providers, and they'll make money off it. We don't make money off it. Of course, it'd be nice to be monetized, but it's not going to be a thing. So I'm just showing some news stories that I had up on the screen. Oh, that one's a different one. So as far as the situation going on with Iran and Israel, we have North Korea, who's been very silent, too silent, makes me worry. Russia,
I know, right?
Russia and China. Now, it all does play into the hands because they're all in the same team. They're all trading oil with each other. They all use BRICS, and the petrodollar is out the window. It's gone. It's dead. Forget about it. So with the alliance that they have, is it possible, and this was raised with me from a friend of mine, is it possible that, a secret shipment, plane flies in, that restocks Iran's weaponry from an ally, from one of their allies? Is it possible? Yeah, it's completely possible. They've got tens of thousands of ground-to-ground missiles. Now, Israel doesn't have tens of thousands of Iron Dome in totality, including the sling and those other components to it. They don't have tens of thousands. Eventually, by number, you're going to destroy Israel. Yes. And if you look at the two ways that both parties are playing this new level of warfare, it's very similar to the way that Ukraine and Russia are fighting. Ukraine are taking out industry-related targets, war machine-related targets, things that are going to cripple their war machine. Russia's taking out civilian buildings. We're seeing Iran doing the same thing. They're not targeting any military bases. It's just
no.
We're going to throw it in there.
If that's not true. No.
Did I say any?
Not true.
I mean, there's a majority of them.
No. Not even. The reason we don't see it is because the Israeli government doesn't allow reporters to report on it.
Oh, okay.
So
that's good. That's a good point.
The actual ratio of military versus civilian is probably just as high as what the Israelis are targeting. So the Iranians are definitely targeting military infrastructure. And in fact, there was a huge hit on a but Israel doesn't allow reporting on it. It only allows reporting on civilian targets.
Yeah, I'd watched a wide range of media today, and I didn't see anything.
No. Because Israel doesn't allow any reporters near it.
I'm not going against you. I'm agreeing with you. So I saw a bunch of media, and there wasn't any military targets mentioned in any of those topics. And that's one of those beautiful I control a media positions that they have.
Yes.
So
that's true.
It is what happens. So you can underreport or overreport success, and it doesn't matter. I know Iran is doing that. I remember who was it? India and Pakistan. There was a whole bunch. Both sides were overreporting success and underreporting casualties. But then when they wanted the sympathy card, they pull out the casualties. We're seeing the same thing. That's what we see. And look, we're in a beautiful position here to be able to watch the whole thing, because would we even be called in, to be honest with you? We have nothing. We just got some bodies. We've got some people so that we could be, part of meat waves or whatever. It doesn't really matter. Whatever happens, it just depends on where the conflict, where's the theater going to be? Is it going to be the Middle East? That's it. I'm going to, if only I could say how I would describe it. It's a hole. There's very little there for anybody to do anything with. There's very little cover. The mountainous terrains, if you're dug in, you're never going to be seen. So you really need to do it from the air. You can't do it with boots on the ground. It's awful. So I don't want to see any country bogged in there for another decade trying to clean it up. And I don't, and on the other flip side of the coin, I don't want to see anyone using any extremely large nuclear weapons, though one would be enough to take out the whole of Israel. Just one in today's measurements, not the other one, Nagasaki or Hiroshima. Not those size. They're talking about 1,000 times bigger than that. It would be easy enough to be able to take out the whole. The whole country in one shot. There you go, done. And good luck ever being there ever again. So. I think I've touched a couple of your topics, Mackie, because you run through so many of them. It's hard to keep up. But look,
just a little.
Yeah, just a little bit. And I'm glad you made the show too, because Mackie had messaged me earlier on saying he wasn't sure if he's going to make it back in time for it. So, and that's the way. That's why we have two hosts, not a single host, because there'd be times when we had to just run a replay. But with what our media, and in total contrast, what is our media projecting onto us about this conflict? Whenever the left, because in Australia's media left, the ABC used to be kind of centre-ish, but all they want to do is portray the human casualty side of anything. Any story, it doesn't matter what it is, it's always the human side. It's not the infrastructure side. Certainly it's going to be against the climate and against fuel and carbon production. It's quite woke, our left over here. And I don't know if you're seeing it. Please do put this below if we have a clip or a reel or a short, or if you're watching the video and you get to this point and you have something to say, do say it. Do comment, like, subscribe, and share any of our videos. I don't care where. Just try and get the message out. That's what we're trying to do. And from our perspective, I think we have a very balanced perspective across the planet, because we get news feeds from everywhere. When I said the left media, yes, you can see how controlled our media is, what government message it's attempting to portray, and this independent news never really happens. It stopped happening, I don't know, in 2001. It stopped happening near the end of the year. I think you might know there might be a date related to that. And they've never really caught up with the shift of the internet. The media have lost the war to the internet. Citizen journalism and the message being put out onto platforms that they're no longer able to control. I think it's a really good thing that we have at least access to that, and that by now, Meki, if they didn't have those controls in place, we would just have a television in the corner, a la 1984, with one channel just telling us the government message, and that would be all we'd be able to consume. If the internet never came about, that's what we'd have.
Probably.
So look, and before I'm going to hand it back to you, Meki. I'm going to hand it back to you. There is another Bali volcano that went off, and a whole bunch of flights have been. This is from today, I think, or yesterday. Yeah, 1 day ago. It says about 36 flights between Australia and Bali have been cancelled or delayed following a massive eruption of one of the Indonesia's most active volcanoes. So Mount Lewotobi, Lucky. Spewed hot ash up to 10,000 meters. And that's the plane altitude. Oh. So something else, Meki. It's something else, and there's now some really large things going on around the world as far as our mountains collapsing, volcanoes going off, a lot of seismic activity, earthquakes. You name it, we're seeing it. And one of the things that was concerning me more now, believe it or not, is the Alps. The Alps have now got another town due to a huge landslide that's imminent. I can't even pronounce the town. I think it's Brienz or something like that. There's another name for it. Huge collapse. And the last thing I want to say is that America, on the 21st of May this year, right about the time when they were about to have that discussion with Iran, and it got postponed, because I know it was in April, but in that postponement period, the US did an unarmed Minuteman launch from Vandenberg. And I've got the sound turned off, but it's just another example of the war machine, the deep state, whoever you want to call them, the military industrial complex, exercising their want for a conflict. There was no need at all. Minutemen are a well-proven technology. There's no reason to go and do another launch. Who are we proving it to? That's the question. It's got to have made it to the news. It's got to have made it to the enemy to say, you know, we're still in the game. We have tech. And every single other discussion I hear in the mainstream media is about how strong the US is. They could very well be playing the song from that Trey Parker movie about America. I can't say the words out loud. But the theme song was rather nice. It had America and then something and then yeah. America. So look, supporting America's military might is one thing, but advertising it at the time of negotiations, that's just showboating to me. And I think we might have lost Meki entirely. I think his screen is frozen. He might have had a lockup on his computer and is probably going to reboot. Will he make it? Now, there's a drinking game in this. If Meki makes it back before the show is finished, you get to have a shot. Maybe if you have a cup of coffee, you can have a coffee, have a sip of your coffee. But it'd be very interesting to see whether we can make it back or not. Now, so while Meki's not here, I wanted to also put this on screen, and you can see these videos. If you see any video, then you've got the ability to search for it. Yeah, now this is on our mainstream media, and it's a quote from the Ayatollah, who says, "The damage it would suffer would be much more than what Iran would possibly suffer," saying that they will be stronger and attack stronger in retaliation. Here's the previous sentence. America getting involved in this would be 100% to its detriment. The damage it would suffer would be much more than what Iran would possibly suffer. I think they've got a huge plan. It could just be empty threats, but I don't believe it. I think we should be very careful about how we are dealing with this situation. I'll tell you, my ex-wife, she was in a movie, and it was called One Night Stand. It was a low-budget Australian film filmed in Sydney with two guys and two girls who end up meeting up after the bombs have started to fall. And they're hiding away in the Opera House in Sydney. And then they, as you know, it starts to deteriorate, they go down underground into one of our underground railway stations, and then all the lights go out, and it's kind of poignant. I think it's really interesting. Meki's messaging me now for sure, and he's going to be telling me that his machine is restarting. Yeah. Well, so will he make it back before the end of the show? I don't know. Who knows? It's going to be crazy. We'll see. We'll see what happens. So anyway, so the Ayatollah has basically made a threat back to the US, saying, "Don't get involved. We'll destroy you." Is that really sensible? Do they have anything? Is there anything inside the US? Possibly. I don't know. Yeah, Meki's been replaced. I've replaced him with Winamp. It was just an AI anyway. I'm only kidding. Don't hate me, Meki. It's all good. So the crude oil price done that. Oh yeah, look, here's something. I wanted to talk about this with Meki because he shared this on our Facebook page. Now we have a Facebook page. We have one and one only for Shiny Side Out, the brand, but its co-use is through Platos Cave and Shiny Side Out. That's what it is. The enemy of my enemy is my friend. I survived the rocket wars of 2025 so far, says Comet in the chat room. Do join us in the chat room. It's actually fun. There's so much goes by when we're on the show. Sometimes it goes by so fast we can't read it in time. But just a little shout out to Fletty and Comet in the chat room. I know Meki's there already. And there's this new story up there. Putin abandons Iran as Israel strikes, threatened to cripple Iran, blah, 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 blah. And the story goes on. So I don't know if Meki's going to make it back. His machine takes so long to reboot. Goodness me. I think what we need to do is we need to get... Oh, Flitty says, Ayatollah versus Trump arm wrestling match. Winner takes all. Yeah, I think, Trump might win that. The Ayatollah looks a bit weak, physically weak. But who knows? Who knows? I think we do like the UFC ring. Only one emerges. See what happens. Agree or disagree? I'm happy with you to disagree. I'd always thought that world leaders shouldn't include anyone else but themselves in their conflict. They should be just the ones who have to deal with it. But I'm wrong. I have to be wrong. I can't be right with that. But I wanted really Mackie. I wanted him to comment on this one, and I'll turn that off. There we go. So he shared this. It's a really nice image. And if you're watching this live on Rumble, do comment if you can. This is a map of the world, and it is coloured by what time the world is living in. And every different colour. So green is Stone Age. So they have not progressed past the Stone Age, which is interesting. I think Mackie might be coming back. Woo! Is he? Is it going to work? It's taking its time. That was weird. There it is.
I'm here.
Hello.
I was frozen. Hey, sorry, but I was frozen. You were frozen. I was talking to myself, I think, for a little while. And then I had to restart Discord. And here I am. Very odd. It just completely froze up. You were still okay, right? You're good?
Yeah, we're fine. It was just you. Oh, actually, no, the stream bombed out.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Huh. There you go. That's odd. That shouldn't happen when I freeze.
It is actually still counting it, but it doesn't appear as though it's streaming. It's weird. Oh, well, anyway, hopefully it's still okay. So, Mackie, I'm sharing that image of the world where everything was coloured by the age that they're living in.
Oh, that's funny, right?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
So the Stone Ages are in like northern South America, in the middle section of Africa, and the top end of Australia, which is really funny. Right? Yeah. Mostly Indonesia and Thailand. That's all there. The other one, colonial times, is the rest of basically the rest of South America up until the Texas border, and northern Africa all the way through the Middle East and down through the Alps down to what's that? Angkor Wat. I can see India though is all times at once, which made me laugh. I think this isn't ours. We didn't make this, but this is what we found.
No.
I love it, Mickey. I really do.
It's funny.
It's funny they didn't really play Sydney very well, because we're meant to be living in the present day, or I believe 1900s for Queensland. I completely believe that.
Oh, that's funny.
But present day is North America. Yeah.
Which really goes to a point Dave and I made with regards to ancient tech and ancient high civilizations.
Mm-hmm.
And if you are also of the opinion that that there could have been more than one civilization preceding ours, with technology quite different to what we have today. See, the thing is this: we don't all have to go down the fossil fuel path, really, right? I mean, electricity would probably be discovered before anything else. Static because electricity is more all-pervasive, if you will, right? Fossil fuel, not so much, really, right? I mean, you can burn wood and all that, and and so forth. But I mean, electricity you come across as a power source. Electricity is really powerful. So lightning is there, static electricity, the piezoelectric effect. In my opinion, it was probably the piezoelectric effect, which was utilized by the ancients, or at least in the civilization that went before this one, because they built in granite and quartz, and granite has or stones that have a high quartz content. And if you've got a high quartz content, you've got a piezoelectric effect. So looking for things like carbon in the atmosphere and all that is a complete nonsense. It's a complete nonsense. It makes no sense at all, because like I said, the technology tree they could have taken could have been completely different. Yeah, maybe they had access to the ether. Maybe they played with free energy. I mean, who knows? But we just went down the fossil fuel path by accident. Okay? By accident. I mean, petroleum had been used for thousands of years to light lamps. Right? Only recently did we start refining it. Okay? It could have gone any which way. It could have gone very differently, our technology tree. And same with civilizations before ours. So we're looking for all the wrong things. Oh, we didn't find anywhere where we found a lot of pollution. Maybe this civilization didn't create a lot of pollution, right? It could happen. It's a thing, right? And we are so myopic in our view, Dave, that we can't see beyond what we have achieved. And even more hilariously when it comes to aliens. Oh, we can't find any radio signals from aliens. Really? Can't you? What a shock. What a shock. Maybe they don't have any sensors that could perceive radio signals, you Muppets. Okay? Maybe a creature we're talking about.
Or maybe they're using quantum.
Maybe they communicate with microwaves. Maybe they communicate in the ultraviolet. I don't know.
Just by blinking.
But neither do you.
Just like blinking, Mickey. They just use blinking. That's right.
But look at octopus. Color. Octopus uses color to communicate.
That's right.
On the skin.
Mm-hmm.
We can't do that. But they can.
The only thing we have is the blush reflex.
Yeah, that's right. Correct. But ultimately, we look at what we've achieved. Like we're the monkey that stands on a heap of bananas. It's mine! My bananas! And look at all I survey. Look at all I possess. One day, son, all this will be yours. All the poop and all the bananas.
All the poop and all the rotten bananas.
All the rotten bananas. And then we wonder why no one else is standing on a heap of bananas full of poop. Okay? Because no one else wants to do that. Okay? Aliens, by definition, are alien. Completely, ideally, right? To us. Completely different development, maybe not even carbon-based. Maybe there's no DNA. Who the hell knows? I don't know. And previous civilizations on this planet would have gone very different ways. Look at civilizations that exist today. And this goes back to the map that Dave showed everybody before. We're living at completely different developmental levels, mentally as well as technologically. Okay? Yes, there's a dominant, I guess, society or technology or worldview, but doesn't mean it's the only one or the right one for that matter. An Ice Age civilization, because this is not post Ice Age. I'm not going to forget that. This is a civilization that existed during the Ice Age, living around the equatorial bands. For sure. 1,000% for sure. Equatorial bands, a lot of arable land, probably more land than we have today. Because look at the land we have actually available for human habitation, right? Most of Australia is not. Northern Africa is not. Big chunks of North America are not. Almost all of Siberia is not really, you don't really want to live there, right? So, but if you live in the equatorial regions, which during the Ice Age would have been quite temperate, right? There was a lot of land, because there was a lot more land there, because all of the ice, the water was landlocked, if you will. And Sunderland, Doggerland, and a whole bunch of other lands, like Dave spoke about the land bridge to Tasmania, the land bridge to Indonesia, the land bridge between Sri Lanka and India, etc., etc., etc. A lot more land available around the equator than there is now. Yeah? And we look at all the wrong places. Yeah, yes, Zealandia, exactly, Zealandia, 100%, Dave, 100%. We're looking at all the wrong places, right? And back then, people would have existed at different levels of development as well, just like they do today. It would have been the same then. Okay, and some of those primitive peoples might have thought that the more advanced civilizations that existed were gods. And don't forget that in those times there was more than one human species. There was more than just Homo sapiens. There was a whole litter of us, all sizes and shapes and colors.
Well, the cargo cults,
and some of which
prove
that exactly
the two different peoples at the same time, one were thought to be gods.
Bingo. Dave hit the nail in all the heads. Okay? That's exactly right. This is a multidimensional head. So it's really insane. But this is what it is. This is exactly right. And this is what and we still can't do it. We can't see it. It is incredible, right? I mean, I'm sure there's a parasitic influence that sort of shifts our attention away from it deliberately, sure enough. But for the most part, people like Zahi Hawass and people like him, they're really upsetting. Fleddy says, if the ancients were farmers, then we would have found an ancient fossilized tractor. I know. We have found evidence of ancient manipulation of genetic material, in my opinion. You look at the tropical fruits, such as they are, right? And you think to yourself, oh, that's really inconvenient, this fruit, which seems to grow naturally everywhere. Thank you very much. And we do know they were agriculturalists because we found the soil in the Amazon. Incredible soil. Never seen soil like that ever. It's like, what? So, and having said that, why do you have to be agriculturalists? Right? If you control your population, okay, do you really need to be an agriculturalist? Do you really have to do that? Right? I mean, what kind of crops would you have, and how would you raise them? Would you be more a protein-based society? You know, like fishing and who knows, game, right? It's hard to say. I mean, we went the path of agriculture because we needed to settle in cities, and we did a whole show on that. And it's really a mystery as to why we settled in cities. I mean, why would we give up a really great lifestyle as nomads and start cities? Makes no sense. Makes no sense. None. Zero. But we did. But there's a whole show about that. We'll talk about it at some other point. And there we are.
That's the end of today's show. No, we're not kidding. Seriously. And anyway, you can catch us on Sunday for a Shiny Side Out. And next week as well, 7 a.m. Tuesday and Thursday. But in the meantime, Mackie, what do we ask?
Thank you for listening.
We ask you to be safe!